Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael Venezia, the head of the Equity Trading Division here at Tradeview Markets, and I'd like to welcome everybody once again for joining us, this being Wednesday, February 11th of 2015. And within the past 5 to 7 trading days, the market has been somewhat volatile, although range-bound, with a flood of geopolitical news coming out, that of the Greek fallout, still a hangover from the ECB decision, as well as the continuation of corporate earnings still coming out on the American front. So with that being said, here at Tradeview, we cannot stress the importance of how less is more. And this week's webcast is going to be talked about story stocks, special situations that regardless of market direction, stocks have a tendency to take a life of their own and have a continuation or stay hot, if you will, for the next couple of days. And I'm going to use 3 examples to prove this right now. First of all, let's look at what the SPYs are doing right now. The SPYs, since the middle of December, have been range-bound, but they've been very volatile. There have been a lot of 3-digit moves throughout that time. But put that aside, we don't trade the market, we trade stocks on how the market is performing. And I'm going to use 3 examples once again. And the first one I'm going to use is Nu Skin. NUS is the symbol. It's a multi-level marketing, goes with Herbalife. Now you can see here, 3 days ago, Nu Skin missed fourth quarter profits. The stock actually opened down in an up market, but went from 42 to 53 in 1 day's time, an 11-point range on, as you can see here, 5 million shares when it normally does 1 million. Now for a stock that opens down and finishes on the high with tremendous volume, I consider that buying the bad news, or the news is out, it's flushed out. So as you can see, a stock like Nu Skin is a high flyer, it was $100 at the beginning of the year. So these stocks have a tendency of being momentum stocks. So for a stock like this, the trade has an 11-point range, finishes near the high on an 11-point range, trades tremendous volume, has a little pullback to 48 and continues right there up to 56. And actually it stopped a little bit at the gap right here, so I don't know if any more is there. But that's a stock that takes upon a life of its own regardless of market direction. Nu Skin. The next stock I'm going to talk about is CONN, Con. It's actually a furniture warehouse, a furniture company. As you can see, going back to the middle of the year, it was $54, used to be a high flyer, and has a tendency to be a mover and break within gaps, if you can see. Now, going back to the middle of December, this dropped from 36 to 23 was that they were investigated by an accounting company for some sort of fraudulent practices, and the COO actually wound up resigning. So as you can see, the stock had tremendous volume that day, actually followed through as well. Now, 3 days ago, Con once again had numbers, very similar to what Nu Skin did, but for a stock that normally trades 500,000 shares, and that day went from 1785 to 2068 on 4 million shares as opposed to 500,000. Now, I'm not saying it's something you can go heavily into, but certainly this is a special situation stock, just like Nu Skin, where the stock is flushed out. I'm not saying it's going back to highs, but this is one of those stocks that follows through. So 3 days ago had big volume. It continued another day. It rested, so to speak. And then the following day, it continued. So the stock went from 17 to 25 in 3 days. These are one of these stocks that you have to be familiar with in your universe, where they continue or they have follow-through on fundamental news, and this is a perfect example of this. But the last one I'm going to use is another one. It's a small stock, but it's prone to fundamental news, and it's called Gene Therapy. Now let me go back to 5-year chart. As you can see, this was a high flyer at $54. You don't have to go back 5 years. All you have to do is go back a year or even 1 month, for that matter, to identify a strong stock. Gene Therapy this day had breast cancer news. Anything I've said before that has to do with cancer, you want to be in. It's just one of those stocks one of those sectors that are prone to biotech and news. So this day, the stock Gene, now it didn't open up much. It opened at 142, which leads me to be suspect because it kind of took on a life of its own. Now for a stock that normally trades 300,000 shares, and that day traded 25 million, and it opened up at 132 and closed at 486, almost a 400% move on 25% volume, 25 million shares. So maybe you didn't catch the meat of the move. I didn't like the stock to be overnight because it opened up on change and then kind of took a life of its own. But this is something you have to be aware of and play. Because for a stock that does this and then traded 19 million shares 4 days later and went from, still had a range from 236 to 447. Now I'm not saying it's going back to 12 or anything, but that's something you got to be involved in. Even if you got hurt in it overnight, it's something that you have to see. It did a double bottom at base, then it continued. Now you don't have to be in the meat of the trade or anything like that, but these are story stocks and situations that you have to be in. So with that being said, I want everybody to have their stock universe. I want them to have situations where they have stocks in play, and you have to have story stocks and special situations in some area, because these stocks I told you will eventually die down. Maybe not Newskin because it's kind of an active stock with Herbalife, but everybody please, we're going to set up queries and queries on our Tradeview website where everybody can identify these stocks. I'm actually going to personally put in the parameters, if you will, and I'm going to help everybody through this. But this is an example of what we do and how we make money and not play the market, engage special situations against that. So that's all you need. A couple of stocks does it. So until then, stay tuned for another webcast, and everybody trade well and do your homework. Thank you.